The theft in the moonlight. The moon was high in the alien sky. Silver light touched the quiet ground of Elias's farm. Everything looked peaceful. His crops swayed gently in the night breeze. The strange fruits from Earth and local alien soil had grown well. Elias was proud of them. But something moved between the rows. He stood on his wooden porch, holding a warm mug of broth. At first he thought it was just the wind. But then he saw it. Small, fast, and careful. Someone was in his garden. Elias put down his mug and grabbed his flashlight. He walked slowly, not wanting to scare whoever it was. As he moved closer, he saw a shape crouched beside his vegetable patch. It was thin, shaking, pale under the moonlight. He switched on the light. The figure gasped and turned sharply. It was not human. She was tall but bent, wearing ripped cloth over her body. Her skin had a soft bluish glow. Her eyes were wide and full of fear. She clutched a small bag filled with vegetables, carrots, roots, and a few alien fruits. Elias didn't speak. He was too surprised. The alien woman turned and ran. She was fast at first, but her legs were weak. After just a few steps, she stumbled and fell to her knees. She didn't try to get up. She just clutched the bag tightly to her chest and looked up as Elias walked toward her. He stopped a few feet away. She was breathing hard. Her face was thin, her arms too skinny. She was shaking, not from fear, but hunger. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Her voice was broken, barely a breath. "Please don't hurt me." Elias didn't move. He was watching her carefully. She didn't look dangerous. She spoke again, this time her voice trembling more. "My child. He's hungry. Please, I needed food." Her eyes filled with tears. She tried to stand again, but her legs gave out. She collapsed fully now, her face touching the soil. Elias bent down. "Hey," he said quietly. "You're hurt." She didn't answer. He gently took the bag from her arms. She didn't resist. Her hands were ice cold. Elias looked at the bag, then back at her. "You could have asked," he muttered. "You didn't need to steal." Her lips moved, but no words came. Elias looked around. No other sounds, no one else in sight. But something in her eyes, before she passed out, stuck with him. Fear. Not of him, but of something else, something worse. He had a choice. He could leave her there. Let the patrol bots find her. Or, he sighed. With effort, he lifted her into his arms. She was so light. Too light for someone her size. Her body had old bruises, fresh scratches, and long, thin scars down her arms. "Who did this to you?" he whispered. He carried her back to his cabin. The door opened with a soft creak. Inside it was warm, quiet, and smelled like cooked herbs. He laid her on the couch and covered her with a blanket. Her breathing was shallow, but steady. He placed the bag beside her, then he sat back down, watching her. Who was she? Why was she alone? And what did she mean? My child. The next few hours were slow. He brought warm water and left it near her. He made soup and placed it on the table. But she didn't wake. Only soft breaths and the twitch of a hand now and then. As the sun began to rise, Elias heard something. Soft rustling now from outside. He stood up fast and walked to the door. The sound came from near the garden. No, just beyond it, near the trees. He followed carefully, heart beating faster. When he reached the edge of the woods, he saw a small shadow move behind a bush. "Hey," Elias said, calm but firm. "Come out. Nothing. I'm not angry," he added. "Are you her child?" Silence. Then a tiny head peeked out. It was a small alien child. No older than 5 or 6, but his cheeks were sunken and his clothes were torn. His eyes looked just like hers. The boy saw Elias and froze. "I'm not going to hurt you," Elias said gently. "Your mother is safe. She's in my house." The boy took a shaky step forward. Elias knelt down and opened his hand. I have food, he offered. The child stared, then slowly came closer. He didn't speak, but his eyes never left Elias's. The moment he got close enough, Elias gave him a soft fruit from the bag. The boy grabbed it and ate fast like a starving animal. Elias watched with a heavy heart. He looked back toward his cabin. A strange feeling was rising inside him, anger at whoever abandoned them, and a quiet promise forming in his mind. He wouldn't let them suffer anymore. A cry in the shadows. The little boy followed Elias with silent steps, still holding the half-eaten fruit. His eyes stayed low, his thin arms wrapped tightly around his chest. He looked like he hadn't spoken in days. When they reached the house, the alien mother was still lying on the couch. Her face was pale, her body still weak. But when the boy stepped through the door, her eyes fluttered open. Her lips moved without sound. She lifted her hand weakly. The boy rushed to her side. "Mama." Her eyes filled with tears. She touched his face with trembling fingers like she was checking to see if he was real. "You found him," she whispered to Elias, barely audible. "He found me," Elias replied. "He was hiding in the trees." The woman tried to sit up, but pain shot through her body. She gasped, and her son quickly helped hold her up. Elias stepped forward with a warm bowl of soup. "Eat, both of you, slowly." The boy looked at his mother. She gave him a small nod. He took the spoon, dipped it, and brought it to her lips first. She drank carefully. Elias watched in silence. The boy took a spoonful for himself next. His hands were shaking, but he didn't stop. He was hungry, so hungry. But he still fed his mother first. "What's your name?" Elias asked softly. The woman looked at him. "Sira," she said after a pause. "And your son?" She placed a hand on the boy's back. "Kiri." Elias gave a nod. "I'm Elias, I live alone, but now, I guess I'm not alone anymore." Sira gave him a weak smile. "We didn't mean to bring trouble." "I know," he said, "but trouble already found you." She lowered her eyes. "We were left behind, betrayed." Elias pulled a chair closer and sat down. "Tell me," he said. "Start from the beginning." Sira was silent for a long time. Then, in a voice full of pain, she spoke. "We escaped from a labor ship. They called it a rescue, but they only wanted workers. They took everything. Our documents, our food, even our dignity." She paused, holding Kiri tighter. "When I refused to be sold again, they left us here. Like garbage. The ship flew off before I could even scream." Kiri looked up at Elias. "Mama cried every night." Elias felt a knot tighten in his chest. "How long have you two been out there?" he asked. Sira closed her eyes. 6 nights. We had a fire, but it went out. The food was gone. I tried to stay strong, but I started to shake. I thought I could find food. Steal a little. But I fell. "You almost died," Elias said. "You're still not safe." Sira nodded. "I know, they might come back." Elias stood. "You can't stay in the open. I have a storage room underground. It's warm, hidden. Until you're strong enough, you'll stay there." Sira looked surprised. "Why help us?" Elias gave her a look. "You're a mother." That was enough. Later, that night the wind howled outside. Elias showed them the hidden door behind a shelf. Down a short stairway there was a small room, originally meant for tools. He had added lights, blankets, and a small heater. Kiri looked around with wide eyes. "It's warm." Sira touched the walls, almost in disbelief. "No one has ever been this kind to me." Elias handed her a folded jacket. "I don't care what species you are, you're starving, you're hurt, and your child is in danger. That's enough for me." Sira looked like she might cry again, but she held it back. She sat down, covering Kiri with the blanket. The boy curled up close to her side, finally relaxed. Elias turned to leave, but Sira's voice stopped him. "Elias." He turned. "If anything happens to me, Promise me you'll protect my son." He didn't answer right away, but then he walked back, kneeled beside her, and placed a hand on Kiri's shoulder. "I promise." That night, Elias didn't sleep. He sat near the fire thinking. Who would betray a mother and child like that? Who left them with nothing? He felt anger deep inside, and he knew one thing. If they came back to take Sira or her son, they would have to get through him first. The first meal. The soft hum of morning filled Elias's small home. Birds chirped in the distance. The scent of fresh bread and boiling soup spread through the air, but down in the hidden storage room, silence held its breath. Sira slowly opened. Her eyes. She blinked at the warm yellow light above her. For a moment she didn't know where she was. Then she felt something warm against her side. Her son. Kiri slept peacefully, his tiny hands gripping her shirt. She looked around. Blankets, a heater, clean water, and food. Real food. Her hands trembled as she reached out to the bowl beside her. She sniffed the steam. It wasn't poisoned. It was comforting. No chains, no yelling, no cold metal floors, just peace. A few minutes later, the hatch creaked open. Elias appeared carrying a tray. "You're awake," he said. "Good." Sira sat up quickly, startled. Elias raised his hand. "It's okay. You're safe." He came down the steps and placed the tray near her. It had soft bread, soup, and 2 boiled eggs. Sira looked at the tray, then back at him. "You cooked all this for us?" Elias sat on a crate and gave a small nod. "You need strength, especially if you want to keep running." "I'm tired of running," Sira whispered. "I just want my son to eat." "Then let him," Elias said softly. She gently shook Kiri awake. The boy blinked sleepily, then sat up as his nose caught the smell. His eyes widened. Sira handed him a piece of bread. He took it, looked at her, and waited. She broke off a piece and gave it to him first. "Eat," he chewed slowly, like he didn't believe it was real. Elias watched in silence. "Back where I come from," he said, "I never saw anyone feed their child before themselves." Sira smiled weakly. "Mothers do that when food is rare. We eat only if there's enough left." Elias leaned forward. "Now there is." Later that morning, Elias walked into the back garden. He looked over the damaged patch where Sira had fallen. The soil was soft from her steps. Her footprints were small, shaky, and desperate. He crouched down, placed his hand on the dirt, and shook his head. Something about all of this felt wrong. Not just her being abandoned, but how nobody noticed. Nobody cared. "Not anymore," he muttered. He stood up and walked back inside. Sira was sitting on the floor with Kiri, teaching him how to say words in her language. Kiri giggled as he repeated a funny-sounding word. Elias leaned against the doorframe. "He's got a good laugh." Sira looked up. "He hasn't laughed in a long time." "Well," Elias said, "maybe it's time that changes." That night, Elias sat outside sharpening a piece of metal. He didn't trust the piece to last, not if whoever dumped them here was still nearby. Suddenly he heard something, a soft click. He stood up fast and looked around. Another click, this time closer. His hand went to his belt. He kept a laser cutter there. Not a weapon, but it could burn skin. A voice echoed from the darkness. "Human male, your ship signature was traced. You've been warned about harboring off-world pests." Elias narrowed his eyes. "They're not pests, they're people." A glowing red eye blinked from the dark. It was a drone. "Watching. You will report the location of illegal refugees, or suffer the consequences." Elias stepped forward. "Come closer and I'll rip your circuits out." The drone buzzed and vanished into the trees. Elias rushed inside. He locked the door, shut the blinds, and went to the trapdoor. Sira looked up as he opened it. She saw his face and knew something had changed. "They know," he said. Her hand went to Kiri. "Then we're not safe." Elias shook his head. "Not yet. But we will be." How? She whispered. He looked at the boy, then back at her. We fight smarter. I'm not letting them take you again. Her story. Her pain. The storm came without warning. Rain hammered the roof of Elias's small cabin. Thunder cracked across the alien sky. But deep underground in the warm storage room it was quiet. Too quiet. Sierra sat beside the heater, her arms wrapped around Kiri. The boy was fast asleep, breathing softly. His small hand rested on her arm. But Sierra couldn't sleep. Her eyes were open, staring at nothing. Her body was still weak, but it was her thoughts that kept her awake. Thoughts full of pain. She flinched at every sound, thunder, wind, even footsteps upstairs. Her heart raced, her breath trembled. Every noise felt like a warning. They've come back, they've found us, but they hadn't. Not yet. Footsteps creaked above. Then the hatch slowly opened. Elias climbed down with a small box in his hands. Brought something, he said gently. It might help. Sierra stayed silent. Elias sat across from her and opened the box. Inside were small paper packets and a few items wrapped in cloth. He pulled out a piece of chocolate. I thought your son might like this. Sierra looked at it, then at him. Why are you doing this? Elias paused. Because no one else is. She lowered her eyes. That's not how most humans think. Then maybe I'm not like most humans. Sierra slowly reached out and took the chocolate. She broke it in half and placed one piece in Kiri's hand while he slept. The other piece she held carefully. But she didn't eat it. I haven't tasted sweet in so long, she whispered, even before we were left here. Elias leaned back. You want to talk about it? She didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, painfully, she began. I was born on a mining ship. We never touched a planet. My people, we were called useful. Not citizens, not people, just workers. She looked at Kiri's face as she spoke. My parents died when I was young. I was sold to pay for air rations. I scrubbed floors, carried cargo, cooked for soldiers who kicked me when they were bored. Her voice didn't shake. It had gone cold. I was just one of many. When I turned 16, a buyer said I had a good body. He took me. I became property. Elias clenched his fists. I ran the first time I got pregnant. I wanted to protect the baby. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could be a mother, a real one. But I lost her before she was born. I was punished for escaping. She touched the scars on her arms, hidden beneath the sleeves Elias had given her. Then came another chance, another child. Kiri. This time I made it far. Found a smuggler who promised freedom. A quiet planet. A new life. She looked up at Elias, eyes full of quiet rage. They lied. Dropped us here, no food, no way off. I begged for help, they just laughed and flew away. She reached for Kiri, pulled him closer. I tried to stay strong. But I was starving. My body, it began to give up. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. Elias finally spoke. His voice was low. You didn't deserve any of that. Sierra gave a bitter laugh. Does it matter? It happened. He leaned forward. It matters now. Because now, I'm here. She looked at him. For a long moment they said nothing. Then Kiri stirred. He blinked and smiled sleepily at the chocolate in his hand. Did you give this to me? He asked his mother. Sierra smiled gently and nodded. Yes. I wanted you to taste something sweet. Kiri held it up to her. Then you have half. She looked surprised. Then she took it from him and shared the bite. Elias watched quietly. Even after all the pain, even after the betrayal, there was still love. Above them, the storm grew worse. Rain poured. The wind howled like angry ghosts. And in the distance, Elias's scanners lit up. Something had entered the forest. Not wild animals, engines, cold, heavy, slow. Someone was coming. Elias stood at the window, gripping the scanner. His voice, when he spoke, was calm, but sharp. They're close. Trouble finds. Them red lights blinked on Elias's scanner. 3 life forms. Not animals, not wild drones. Armed, trained, moving straight toward the cabin. He stood at the window, fists clenched, rain dripping down the glass. Thunder roared again. The forest outside flashed in the lightning. He didn't wait. He ran to the hidden hatch and opened it. Sierra looked up fast, her body tensing at the fear in his face. "What is it?" "They've found us," Elias said. "You need to stay quiet. Don't make a sound, no matter what you hear." Sierra grabbed Kiri, holding him tight. "How many?" 3, maybe more behind them. Sierra's breath caught. "Bounty hunters?" "Looks like it." She shook her head. "If they take me, they'll kill him." "They won't take either of you." Elias pulled out 2 old energy cells, strapped one to his tool belt and the other to the trapdoor's control. He paused. "If I don't come back and press this button, it opens the back exit under the wall. Run south. Never stop." "Elias." He looked at her, his eyes fierce but calm. "I made a promise." And then he was gone. Outside, the storm was a blur of wind and sound, but Elias moved like a shadow, slipping through the trees behind his cabin. He spotted the first shape, a figure in armor scanning the house. The hunter spoke into a device. Cabin confirmed. Human signature. Possible alien heat source underground. Elias waited. Waited. Then, he threw a stone to the left. The figure turned fast. Wrong direction. Elias struck from behind, one hard hit to the helmet with a metal pipe. The hunter fell with a loud grunt, 1 down. But the second saw it. Contact. Human. Repeat. Hostile human. Laser fire sliced through the trees. Elias dove, rolled, and grabbed the first hunter's stun gun. It barely worked, but it was enough. He fired. A spark hit the second bounty hunter's shoulder, sending him spinning to the ground. 2 down, but the third was smarter. He stayed back, pulled out a scanner and shouted, "You're protecting an alien fugitive human. Step away before we make this official." Elias stepped into view, soaked and covered in mud. "I'm not protecting a fugitive," he said. "I'm protecting a mother and her child." The hunter raised his weapon. "Then you'll die with them." Elias raised his hands, but he was smiling. "Wrong," he said. "You'll be leaving without her." Boom! A flash of light behind the cabin. The trapdoor ejected a smoke signal. False heat signatures launched into the trees. The hunter turned. "What?" Elias lunged, tackled him. The 2 rolled in the mud, fists flying, elbows slamming. The hunter tried to grab his gun, but Elias slammed it away and punched him hard in the faceplate. "Try to touch them again," Elias growled, "and I'll bury you right here." The hunter gasped. "You're insane." "No," Elias snapped. "I'm human." He grabbed the hunter's comm and crushed it under his boot. Minutes later, the storm faded. Elias dragged the last hunter to the edge of the forest. All 3 were unconscious, weapons broken, comms fried. He left a message burned into a metal plate near them. "She is under my protection. Come again, and I'll be waiting." Back inside the house, Sierra was still in the bunker, holding Kiri close. She had covered his ears and whispered soft lullabies in her language. Her hands were shaking, her mouth dry. Suddenly, the hatch opened. She froze. Then Elias appeared, wet, muddy, bruised, but alive. "They're gone," he said softly. Sierra rushed to him, eyes wide. You're bleeding." "I've had worse." She helped him sit. Kiri brought a cloth and gently pressed it to his forehead. Elias gave a small smile. "You're braver than most people I know, kid." Kiri smiled shyly. "You saved us." Elias looked at Sierra. "No, you saved him. I just helped." Sierra sat beside him, eyes filled with emotions too deep for words. For a long time, they didn't speak. The storm outside faded. The silence was soft, like peace returning after war. Then Elias whispered, almost to himself, "Next time, they won't just send 3, Sierra nodded. Then we'll be ready." The stand the morning after the storm was silent. Too silent. Birds didn't sing. The wind didn't blow. Even the leaves seemed afraid to move. Elias stood outside the cabin, staring at the broken scanners and scorched marks on the ground. He had cleaned his wounds. He had buried the smashed weapons under heavy rocks. But peace wasn't coming. Not anymore. Inside the house, Sierra stirred. She opened the curtain and saw him standing there, tall, still, like a soldier, waiting for war. She walked to him slowly, wrapping a blanket tighter around her shoulders. "You didn't sleep," she said, quietly. He didn't look at her. Didn't need to. Sierra looked at the distant tree line. "They'll return. I'm counting on it." Sierra turned to him, voice soft but strong. "You're one man. They'll bring a ship next time. I've fought worse odds." "Why would you do that?" she asked. "Why throw your life away for people you barely know?" He finally turned to look at her. "You said no one ever helped you. I want to be the first." Sierra's eyes filled with emotion. She looked away before he could see the tears. But inside, a part of her began to heal. That afternoon, Elias began working. He reinforced the doors with metal sheets, planted sensors in the dirt, dug lines for old fuel traps. Kiri helped. The boy was small but quick. He carried tools, passed wires, and asked questions about every step. Sierra watched from the window, her heart aching and full. For the first time, her son wasn't hiding. He was learning, smiling, living. At night, Elias brought out a dusty datapad. It flickered to life with an old security blueprint. "This place used to be a frontier station," he told Sierra. "Long before I bought it. There are tunnels underground, escape routes, hidden compartments." "You've been planning for a fight?" Elias smirked. "No, I just don't like being surprised." Sierra placed a hand on the screen. "Can I help?" Elias looked at her. "You can't even stand for long." "I don't care, I need to do something, I won't run again." He saw the fire in her eyes. "All right," he said. "Then let's prepare, together." Days passed. Every sunrise brought new tension. Every sound in the distance could be the enemy. But something else grew too. Trust. Sierra was strong again. Her hands steady, her voice firm. She helped Elias program alarms, taught Kiri how to hide in small vents, and even repaired one of the damaged drones for recon. "I used to build ships," she said once, "before I became a number." Elias was quiet for a moment, then he looked at her with respect. "You're not a number here." Then, one night it happened. The scanners screamed, red dots, 5 this time. A low rumble filled the forest. They had arrived. Elias looked at Sierra. "Go underground, now." But Sierra didn't move. "I'm staying." He frowned. "Sierra, no. We stand together." Kiri grabbed Elias's hand. "Me too." Elias looked at both of them. Then he gave a small nod. "All right, let's make them regret coming here." The enemy ship landed just outside the cabin. Its engines scorched the earth. The ramp lowered. 5 bounty hunters stepped out, taller, heavier, armored. Their leader had a metal jaw and glowing eyes. "Human," he shouted. "You have stolen property. Return the alien woman and child or face extermination." Elias stepped outside holding nothing but a tool belt. "You made a mistake," he said calmly. The leader laughed. "Oh? What's that?" "You think this is just my land." The moment he said it, smoke bombs launched from the trees. Traps exploded in fire. 2 hunters went down screaming. The others panicked. Sierra activated the drone from inside. It flew out and zapped the 3rd bounty with a blast of light. Kiri, hiding behind the wall, triggered the old mining floodlights, blinding the 4th. Elias charged. He took down the last one with a strike to the neck, followed by a punch to the chest. The Leader stood alone, wounded, furious. You'll die for this, Elias raised a broken metal pole. Maybe, but not before you. They clashed, metal against armor. It was fast, brutal, explosive. But Elias fought with fury. Not for land, not for pride, but for a mother, a child, a promise. He knocked the leader down, blood on his hands, fire behind him, the storm inside his heart was louder than the ship's engines. You want her? He growled. You'll have to kill me first. The leader reached for his weapon. Sierra fired the drone's last blast. The leader screamed and fell. It was over. Smoke filled the air. Sierra rushed to Elias and caught him as he fell to one knee. You did it. He looked up at her. No. We did it. A new family. The forest was still burning in places. The air smelled of smoke, metal, and ash. But the war was over. Elias sat on the porch, his shirt torn and blood on his forehead. His hands were scraped, bruised, but steady. The sun was rising, over the trees, orange light breaking through the gray clouds. Beside him sat Kiri, holding a cup of warm broth in both hands. Mama says you saved us, Kiri said softly. Elias gave a tired smile. Your mama saved herself, I just stood beside her. Kiri looked down at the cup. Do you have a family? The question hit Elias harder than any weapon. No, he said after a pause. Not anymore. Kiri thought for a moment. Then, maybe you could be in ours. Elias looked at the boy. For the first time in years, he felt something warm in his chest. Something real. Inside the house, Sierra cleaned Elias's wounds carefully. Her hands were gentle, but her eyes serious. You could have died, she whispered. So could you, Elias replied. She didn't speak, just dipped the cloth again and pressed it to his shoulder. I thought I was broken, she said finally. Before I met you. You weren't, he said softly. You were just surviving. I didn't know what kindness felt like, she continued. I thought it was weakness. It's not, Elias said. It's what keeps us from turning into them. Sierra looked up into his eyes. Then without a word, she leaned forward and rested her forehead against his. No chains, no running, no fear, only peace. The next day, they buried the last of the broken weapons. Elias used scrap metal to build a new scanner tower and a stronger door, but he didn't hide them anymore. He put the warning sign right at the front path. This land is protected. This family is not alone. A week passed. Sierra's skin grew brighter, her eyes less tired. She laughed when Kiri tried to chase the chickens. She fixed Elias's broken tools and even painted symbols on the walls, symbols from her people. Symbols of safety and home. Elias built a third bed. But one evening, as the stars came out, Sierra stood outside the cabin looking up at the night sky. Elias stepped beside her. Thinking of leaving? She shook her head. I was thinking, if I still had my ship, I would have flown far away. Not anymore, she turned to him. I don't need to run. I just need one safe place. Elias looked at her carefully. You already have it. A soft silence settled between them. Then Sierra reached out, took his hand and said, Then let's build it. Together. 1 month later, a trader ship flew by. Elias waved them down and traded scrap metal for seeds and supplies. When the trader asked about the alien woman and boy, Elias smiled. Their family. On a quiet evening, Sierra tucked Kiri into bed. The boy looked up and whispered, Are we going to stay here forever? She smiled. If you want to. He nodded. I want Elias to stay too. Sierra kissed his forehead. He's not going anywhere. In the next room, Elias stood at the window watching the stars. For the first time in a long, long time, he didn't feel alone. The end.